Jamie from Inky&Scrappy back with a class today. This is one of two that I'll be teaching at the retreat that I am doing down in Minnesota for the Roadies retreat, so Crafty Chaos retreat. We do have some specialized stamp sets that we're going to be using, so if you don't have these, that's fine. You can find something that's going to be similar to make it work for you, or go totally off script and do something totally different. This is really about playing with some mixed media things. We're going to do some paste, we're going to do some ink colors, some stencil blending, a bunch of different things, random stamping, lots of things. We're just going to end up making a full-sized panel of paper or mixed media art. We'll end up cutting it down into quarters. At least that's my plan. It can definitely be cut down into smaller pieces, larger pieces, whatever you decide to do with it is really up to you. But I figured we'd get started with kind of the basics that we're going to use today. So we're going to use the heavyweight mixed media paper pad. This one's 8.5 by 11. You can get it in the smaller sizes if you want to try it. If the big sheet is daunting, you can definitely do it in the A2 size. Cut this one down. Cut this one in half would probably be my suggestion for you if the big sheet is like, whoa, that's a lot and overwhelming. Sometimes I look at that white sheet and I go, whoa, that's a lot. It's overwhelming. It's not that bad, I promise. Well, I mean, it is. And if you don't hate it at least a little bit along the way, I don't think you're doing it right. That's just my personal experience. I usually at least hate it once, if not twice, before I'm done. I think that's kind of the joy of mixed media. Anyways, so we're going to be using that for our actual paper today, or our medium that we're using today. Let's pop that out. And then I have a few specialty pieces. So the one that we're going to start with is Inkroad donated for our swag bags and for us to do classes with. Some just like, these are just for the retreat people, so find a background stamp. She made this one just for me for this class because I love text backgrounds, and so this is just a text background. It's got a lot of fun sayings on it, whatever, they all just go together, right? So it's not a huge deal, but anything that's the small type text is gonna work for this. You can definitely, there's a lot out there. The other one is the All Panic No Disco set, which, you know, has the disco ball we'll use, and you can use any saying on here that you want. You'll have to bear with me because I'm putting this one on my Inkroad or my Inky&Scrappy channel and not my Salty channel, so I'm gonna try to keep it PG 13. Okay, does that make sense? It's, yeah, we're gonna keep it not rated R. So those two we're gonna bring in for this one. Really, you need a image stamp that's kind of like this size. So if it's a butterfly or a flower or something like that, you could definitely go that route. It doesn't have to be the disco ball. If you're following me with Inkroad, they have other disco balls and other sets. So kind of, I think ADHD Volume 2 has one, and I know there's another one out there somewhere. I think it may be a Taylor Swift set. Anyways, I will also go over my color guide that I did for that one, and it will be up on my blog. But we're going to come in with some distress inks. So either oxides or regular. I think in my original makes I did all regulars. We had some mix up stuff and we ended up getting some oxides for the class, so I'm gonna do some oxides today as well. So we're gonna pick 2 colors, maybe 3, and then of course you're gonna want a black ink pad. I'm gonna go with something that is not, I would go, the other option is, so either this one, which is a dye-based ink by Hero Arts Intense Black. It's not my favorite for coloring with alcohol inks, but hopefully it'll stamp okay. We just need some black ink. The one I would definitely suggest is the, I don't have it up here right now, the VersaFine Onyx Black, or the VersaFine Onyx Black would work good, especially for your background stamp if you really want a nice crisp image. Keep in mind we're not using it like a normal stamp today. So just a black ink is really what you need. Something that is either going to sit on top of your oxides or below it. I'm hoping that we don't cover up a whole lot with the oxides. We'll see how it turns out. I think I've done one other one with the oxides, but anyways. And then the other thing we're going to use, we're going to do some stencil paste today as well. So we're going to bring in the Astro Paste Unicorn Horn. This one is going to give us just that glitter and shine. The other one we're going to use is Windsor & Newton's Iridescent Watercolor Medium. I already have mine in just a flip top bottle, or I have it in the spray bottle as well. But it's just gonna add, we're gonna add a little bit of ink to this later, and we're gonna do some splatter with it. It just adds another layer on top, but you can color this one anything you want. So think Distress mica spray stains is kind of gonna give you, this is gonna give you this similar result with a fraction of the price, because I think the Windsor & Newton runs around, I think it was just on sale, but it's like $8 for a whole big bottle, and I use it all the time. I've given a whole bunch of it away, and I still have over half a bottle left. So that's one that we're going to use today. And then of course I did a paper stencil, because this is just going to make cleanup a lot easier when it comes to class stuff. So I have just a paper stencil. This is from Trinity Stamps. This is their mini slimline disco ball stencil. I did not weed it. I guess I'm really not worried about the weeding part. I just wanted to use something that's going to kind of give me the stencil that I want, and I don't have to run it to wash it right away. We're also going to bring in the fun glass tiles from, these are just sticker tiles. I know you can pick up the smaller ones, like this one from Michael's has them. I'm pretty sure they still have them. These you can get them on Amazon, that type of place. And then I brought in just some extras. These will be for the finished card part of it. Oops. And so those are just kind of extras in our arsenal to use to complete our mixed media project. So I'm going to take out that, and then we just have two random stencils. I really just kind of picked from the top. So I just kind of went whoop, whoop, and picked two, and I went with it. Do I like them? Not exactly, but it really doesn't matter, because they're not the center of attention, right? So I have my stencils, I have my paper, and my stamp sets. So other than that, the only other thing I will be using Ohuhu markers today. So I did do my color chart in Ohuhu. That's kind of how I roll. So for this one, I went in and did the Oahu one first. If there was a Honolulu one, I put that one second, and then if not, in the parentheses is the 2025, the new numbering system with Ohuhus. So if you get them after, like if you get them now, they're all going to have the new number system, so I entered that one in. I just left them all in there because we'll be using all of the sets at the retreat, and so this kind of helps if you're looking for a specific marker. But this one will be on my blog under my, I don't know if it will be on there until after this video posts. So this one will be on, but it's up there for you to see, to look, to see how I color. If that's something that you want, it's there for you. So let's get started. So I have my 8.5 by 11. I'm going to bring in a stamping block today. You can definitely use your platform. Don't feel that you can't use your platform. I just find when I do a big piece like this, it's a lot easier to do a block. So I'm just going to grab, this is an old close to my heart one. I like it because it has good grip on the side. I get my fingers inky and get fingerprints everywhere. If you know, you know. So to start with this one, let's get our little stamps out, and we'll go from there. I think we're gonna do, of course, we're gonna use the disco ball. Do I want, I'm trying to decide. I did all Panic No Disco on my samples, I guess. I'm gonna go with Oh Behave. Or you can definitely go with something smaller, but I'm going to go with the bigger sentiment on this one, just for some like fill-in space. So we're going to grab that one, and I'm going to grab a smaller block for this one. And you can definitely do it on your stamp platform. You're either going to have to move your paper around. If you have the new Misty, the movable one, the Misty Light, that one would probably work really well with this, just because you can move it around, especially if you have a glass media mat that's magnetic. It'll just move around and you can stamp it wherever. On the other one, you're going to have to like either clean it in between, place it, that sort of thing. So to start, you can start with either one. I'm going to start with the Oh Behave just because it's bigger, so I think I want a better impression. Let me see. Well, we'll see how the Hero Arts is stamping today. I think this one's a fairly new one. But I don't think we're going to get as good of a stamp as we would with the pigment-based ink. But it's okay. So I'm just going to start, and I just random, so it's not, it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be in any pattern. You can definitely go for a pattern if that's your thing. You can definitely do double stamping. So if you want a grayer impression, go for it. I just kind of do some randomness and go from there. So if you can see, like, it's got different levels of darkness. Like I said, you'll have, if you want a nice crisp black, definitely go with your VersaFine. It's going to give you a lot better control when it comes to, I don't know if I say control, but a lot deeper color. I just want to do some partials over here. So I don't want to fill up the whole thing, but I do want to give it, you know, some here and there, some different. So I hit all of it. Each panel is going to have part of it on. You could definitely add some more in there if you wanted to, but we still have more to do on top of it. So I like to, in the world of, I don't know, thirds, but I don't want it in thirds either. I want it less than a third, right? So I just kind of want to leave a lot of space in between it. I don't want to be crowded. I want to be able to like stretch out and not touch. You know, I don't want any of those to touch. So if you look at it, you could definitely throw this in between most of my spots. So making sure to leave enough space there in between is always a good idea. So speaking of which, we're just going to come in with the disco ball, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just kind of picking and choosing. You can go straight up and down with it. You can make it angled. It's totally up to you on this one. And I'm just going to kind of fill in a couple of those really big spots. I don't want to overdo it. I want to leave a little bit of room. But kind of spread them out. I want to say equally. Randomly. Try not to go too close together. Making sure I probably have about one on each panel. I think I can do one more here because that's probably going to hit all three panels, or well, at least two panels. I think we're good. I think I need a partial one over here. And just the bottom over there. So I'm happy with the placement on those. It's, you know, it's random. It's one of those things that I think you just get the feel for as you do it. And I know you can do it. All right. So, and like I said, this is meant to be just a background piece. So if you hate it, it's okay. Now we're going to come in with some inks and kind of add those stencils over the top. So I think I'm going to go with, I like all the colors because they're all blues and greens, and I love blues and greens. I'm trying to think. We'll do peacock feathers. Oh, there's so many options. Wilted violet will give us a purple tone, which I don't know if that's in all of those. So, salty ocean or stormy sky. I like both of them. So we'll go stormy sky. And oh, I have stormy sky in this one too. Okay, we'll do stormy sky. Sometimes picking colors is my hardest part. I'm going to go stormy sky and peacock feathers for that one. I'll probably come in with the Wilted Violet as my color splatter, or I'll bring in a red. We'll have red at the retreat. So these are just the ones that I didn't put in my retreat bag yet, or I pulled them out. I didn't think too hard about it. So for this step, we're gonna do a regular ink and an oxide ink. The thing is, we don't want to mix our brushes when it comes to the oxide and the distress. So if it means starting with the distress ink, so you don't even think about putting it in the oxide from the oxide brush. You don't want to go to oxide to a distress or a dye-based ink, because you will ruin your dye-based ink pad. So I either start with this one first and then be done with it, or you can start with this one, but make sure that you're not sharing a brush. So we're going to start with the Stormy Sky. Yeah, we'll do Stormy Sky in this one. And so I have my dye brushes are labeled dye on them at home, just so I don't mix them with my oxide brushes. And so for this one, we're just going to come in and we're just going to add bits of color. We're not even going to hit all the areas. We're just going to hit some of them. And I'm just going to do this at random throughout, moving my stencil so I get different areas of it. It's not all going to line up. I'm just kind of adding some random patterns onto our background here. Trying to just hit different areas and not really worry about any rhyme or reason on this one. Depending upon how much color you want. And you could definitely, you know, do it here and then try to line it up if you want a consistency all the way throughout. But I would definitely aim towards not doing the whole thing, just kind of hitting it at random. So where I've kind of made sure that my stencil is flat this way and that way, I didn't do the angled ones, I think, if that makes sense. I mean, my squares aren't going to line up ever, right? But they're not kitty wampus, so to speak. But if you want them to be kitty wampus, go for it. It is your project. I kind of like this one because it kind of reminds me of the disco ball, you know, pattern. And I think we're good on the blue. It's got some coverage all the way throughout, but it's not all the way covered. So I didn't cover the whole thing from top to bottom. If that's what you want to do, you can. But I think this, I don't know, this just kind of adds another layer to it. So we're going to come in with my oxide ink brush at this point. Mine are smaller heads than my dye ink. The other option is using a foam blender, which I will bring in for my black ink later on when I add some distress around the outside. But for this one, because I'm at home, I'm going to use the ones that I have at hand. But this one is my oxide one. I just know it's smaller. I also color coordinate my brush handles. It just I don't clean them in between. I don't have one for every color. I just kind of go with, so this one is probably this one or this one. One's darker, one's lighter. I went with the lighter one just because I'm pretty sure that one's probably like Uncharted Mariner Dark. And I wanted to go with more of the peacock feathers of darkness. So I'm taking my other plastic stencil that I have. And I'm just going to kind of, you can overlap your other stencil, but you can also aim to kind of fill in where your other one didn't, if that's, you know, if you want to make it look kind of that way, you're definitely welcome to do it that way. So I tend to do one area and I move the stencil. I don't want to come back. I don't want to like shift it up or move it a little bit and worry about lining things up. So this way, by going with just a small area of the stencil, I don't have to worry about things lining up, butting into each other, that sort of thing. And definitely using different areas of the stencil is going to help with that. I also don't want a harsh edge. This is a me thing. It's not, doesn't have to be a you thing. This is totally a Jaime thing. I try to avoid getting the harsh line on the edge, especially on a pattern like this. I don't want you to think that the stencil ended there. I want you to think that the pattern just continued on, you know, forever and ever, amen, right? So I want you to think of it as the pattern that just continually moves forward. I'm going to probably keep this one straight up and down just because, I don't know, the stalks kind of look like, I don't know, they look funny if I go the other way. So for this one, I am trying to hit full flowers. I know that doesn't make sense when I do it. I'm kind of picking my area and going with it, and then, you know, but it's an abstract piece, so you don't need to do it that way. Definitely do what's comfortable for you and what you like. And if you hate it when you're done, did you know there's two sides to every piece of paper? And if you hate this side really bad, you can go and redo it again on the back side. Ask me how I know. Not on this one, but in future, you know, future and past endeavors, it's bound to happen. It just does. But I like my color combo. I don't know if I like my stencil choices sometimes, but I like my color combo. So, all right, so I'm happy with that one. It's got a lot of, I think here maybe could use a little bit more. So let's find a smallish flower here. And we'll throw that over the top. So the oxide on this one, I don't think it's as, can I say, strong as I was afraid that it was going to kind of cover up the dye ink, but it doesn't do too bad. It's not, I mean, you can definitely see it here, but it's not so heavy that it overtakes that black ink. I think if it was a lighter tone of ink for my background, it probably would. Now at this point, we're doing pretty good, right? So we have a fairly good background going. I'm gonna bring in, my favorite part is of course adding the text. I love tiny text. I have so many, we're not even gonna say how many. I have so many stamps that are text stamps. So trick for this one, we don't want the whole stamp. We want portions of the stamp. So if this is one that you struggle with when it comes to this kind of stamp, getting a full stamp, I would tell you to go with a VersaFine Onyx Black or a VersaFine Clair. You're gonna get a better impression right away. We could definitely go with the other dye ink again. I think for this one we're just, because I want it to be bold and I want it to be crisp and I don't want to have to think about it, I'm just gonna go with the VersaFine for this one. And here's where you have options. So if you're using the VersaFine, you can ink the whole thing. That's what we're going to do this time. So you can definitely ink the whole thing, or you can just ink strategic areas and lay it flat, and you can do it in your platform. And in that case, I would probably use like the Mini Distress or a different company's like Mini Black Cube and just like do little areas on there. I wouldn't do the whole stamp. I'm going to use my hand for this, so I tend to bow it and angle it and do it that way. So I might get a whole strip here and a whole strip there, but I'm not going to do the whole stamp at once. I'm just going to kind of go here and press with my finger a little bit and come back up. So you see I didn't get the whole stamp, I got parts of it. And so I don't want to say it's a technique, but it's just something that I don't know, worked on over the years, and I love the look of it. And you can restamp, so you're going to get lighter areas in there, you're going to get darker areas in there. It's kind of part of the fun when it comes to doing mixed media, is it doesn't have to stamp perfectly. And just kind of adding in some text wherever. And you can ink it up again if you like more text. This one, I think we're okay with what we have, and I'll probably go with it. My ones up top don't have nearly as much as the ones on the bottom, and it's fine. All right, so after this one, we're gonna go with that paper stencil. This is really just so I don't have to clean it. You could definitely use one of your other stencils and go that route with it. Just me weeding the said stencil that I didn't weed. Okay, so this one is the one that we're gonna come in with our Astro paste. So this is Unicorn Horn. Any kind of, if you have the Nuvo glitter shimmer, is gonna work. This one's not a colored one. You're more than welcome to use a colored one for this technique. I have a whole bunch of the I don't think they're Astro pastes, they're lunar pastes, I think, which will work totally fine. As well, it's going to be the solid color. It's not going to have the glitter. I wanted the glitter and the shine for this one, so that's why we're going to go with the glitter and the shine. But this one, you're going to take just a small portion out. Keep in mind that if you're going over ink that's going to react to it, you don't want to add it back into your pot. So less is more. So if you take out a little bit, you can always add. You can always take out more, but you can't put it back in, right? So I usually tend to go sparingly, and then I work from there. So I'm going to take about that much out, and we're just going to randomly kind of spread this. You can either use a palette knife, that's what these are, or what I've found that works really well is, they're called a mask brush. It's actually for your face. It's a silicone brush. They're not flat over the top, but they have a little bit more give, and they will get into the nooks and crannies a little bit better, I find, and it thins it out a little bit more. It's not quite as thick when it goes over the top. So if that's something that you want to try, go for it. Now the part of this one that's difficult is we don't want to touch what we've already pasted, right? So either going in steps or going, you know, here, and then I'm going to lift and move. So working in kind of a pattern, knowing that I can't go back to this corner. Also working with that smaller stencil kind of helps. Just to say a little bit, it kind of helps just because I have less area that I might overlap with, and so therefore it makes it a little bit easier to kind of pick and choose where I want my stencil paste to kind of go through. And we've got a little bit more. And then pulling your stencil, I try to pull it straight up just to kind of help get, I don't want it to smear, and so by doing it this way, we usually get a good pull. This one's a fairly easy one to pull, so it's not, I don't want to say it's always easy, but it's definitely, it's not as finicky as maybe a soft floral one or a smaller floral one is. I went off the edge. Okay, no big deal, so we just keep moving. Alright, so I don't have any here. See, this is where it gets tricky because I don't really have the room for it, but I want a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of pull it up and move it. I smeared a little bit. It's okay. And we'll pull over here. Whoops. I smooched my stencil. I don't think I put this much stencil paste on any of my other ones. I'm going to be honest. I went a little bit heavier today, which is fine. So when you're done, if you didn't get a lot of black ink on it like I did, you can use this as like a glittered over, you know, it just glitters it. I would spread the rest, but let's see, let's go right here yet. And I'm just going to clean off that on my actual sheet because it's just glitter. It's just going to be shiny. So we have that one done. I'm going to set that in the garbage already so I don't get paste everywhere. Close up my paste so it doesn't dry out. We hit our half hour. So anyways, that's kind of, with the glitter one you don't see it as much as you would see your colored paste, so keep that in mind. I probably went heavy because it's the glittered one and you don't see a whole lot of it today. So that's kind of our panel. So, you know, love it, hate it, it is what it is, but it's just your base piece, right? A lot of times with mixed media stuff, I don't like them until I'm totally done with the card. So this one is, we're gonna set this one off to dry. We're gonna move on to coloring images, or an image. I think we're just gonna do one today. We'll finish one card from top to bottom. I will probably add some more panel stuff. You know, I might finish my panels per se, but ultimately, if we get one card done today, I'm happy with it. Also, keep in mind, you don't have to add an image or other stuff. You can definitely do parts of this on a card. It doesn't have to be the whole panel. But anyways, we're gonna set this one off to the side and let it dry. Hopefully it's dry in a timely manner. I went kind of heavy on the glitter, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I lied, we're not done yet. We're gonna take this one in and we're gonna bring in a different colored ink. I'm trying to think what I have. I'm gonna bring in, really I could bring in any color of ink you have. I'm just gonna go with, do I want red? I want pink. I want pink because I want to do, let's see if I have. I'm going to bring in Distress Worn Lipstick. This is a re-inker. You can definitely just use the ink pad the same way. This is going to take like less than a drop of ink, so I just touch the tip onto my surface. And I'm going to add maybe 2 drops. This stuff is highly concentrated. I usually use the spray one, which isn't at my fingertips at the moment. But I'm going to add that to my pink. We'll add a little bit more water just because I want it to move a little bit more for me. This is going to be a direct contrast to the blues and the greens that I used, and it's going to stick out a little bit more. You could even go darker with a red, which I was kind of thinking about doing red, but I thought maybe it would be I wanted to go pink because I have pink on my coloring. And so I'm just gonna, and I just tap it with, this is a detail style brush, and I just get it nice and full of my liquid, and then I just kind of tap it with my fingers. Usually I do this in a splat style box. If you're semi-controlled with it, you can do this on your desktop without totally getting pink and glitters everywhere. And I'm just going to splatter this liberally. And if there's areas that you're like, it kind of looks bland here, kind of going over them with your splatter is kind of going to help fill in maybe some of those areas that my bottom is definitely heavier when it comes to what's going on. My top is definitely lighter on what's going on. So, you know, keeping that in mind when you're splattering, if that's, you know, if you want to have a reference, or I don't know. Okay, I think we're good now. So this adds just that little bit of pink and a little bit of contrast in there. So I'm going to set this one off to the side. I'm going to wash up my tabletop and clean my brush quick, and we'll get back. I have to pull my colors too. So I'll be right back. So we zoomed it in a little bit. We might even zoom it in some more once I start coloring, just because it's a smaller image and seeing it is kind of hard sometimes. So ultimately, I start usually with one color and I go all the way throughout, right? So I'm going to start with the pink on the shirt and I'm going to color the darkest layer, then the next layer, and then the next layer. I'm not going to let it, I don't want to say dry in between, because I do like to let it dry if I'm using the same marker over and over like I'm going to with the shirt. But like on the jeans, I'm not going to let my dark color dry before I add in my medium tone, and then my medium tone dry before I add my light tone. I kind of want to do it while it's all still wet. It's, I don't know, it's easier to get your colors to blend when they're wet. It's like trying to you know, when if you watercolor and you go with one color, and if you want your transition to be smooth, you have to do it wet on wet on wet. It's the same with alcohol markers. So keep that in mind. It's not that much different, but you don't have to do it with alcohol markers. If you just want to color one color solid, that's fine. I'm just going to show you how to up it. I pulled out, I was going through stuff and I found stuff from when I colored, you know, 10 years ago. And it's not, you know, it's definitely when I started, or, you know, I was getting better than when I first started. But I have cards that I made 15, 20 years ago, especially 20 years ago, when I think we went through grandma's stuff and I saw stuff and I was like, oh, you know, I get better over time, and I would imagine that you get better over time. So when it comes to that, don't feel like you have to be at this level right away. It's taken me 40 plus years to get here. I always say that. I'm like, I've been coloring since I was a year old. I have a picture of me coloring when I was a year old. And I probably really sucked at it. I can usually get in between the lines now. So most of the time. This image might not be the greatest, but most of the time I can get through the lines. So we're going to start with the pink, and this one is going to be a tone on tone, or the same color throughout. So I kind of let this one dry a little bit in between to get the layers build up. If that helps you, I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to start with the outside. I want to show that, you know, her arms are round, and so by going kind of along the outside, there's definitely different ways to do this. This is how I do it. It's totally up to you. Find a creator that colors in a style that you admire or like. It's gonna help you up your game watching them. I watch a lot of Nicole Spore. I watched a bunch of, she does a lot of different mediums, hence why I've always loved to watch her. I'm gonna give her a little bit of shape here, just because I feel like she's gonna be flat otherwise. So kind of adding in the depth, like, you know, where it's gonna drop down, kind of gives separation of the girls, so to speak. And so I do usually kind of add that. I didn't on my detail, on my pictured ones, but this one. And then once I have that layer on, I'm just gonna come in and I actually color that whole area again, going over once, and the other side. I try not to overlap in the middle. I usually try to do, especially on smaller images like this one, I try to do the whole area with one pass and not kind of meet in the middle so much. But then I can come back in a third layer and kind of add a little bit more depth into areas that I think maybe need it. And so, and I forgot the collar, so I'll come back and hit that one. And so there you have the t-shirt is done. I think we're gonna hit the lips with the pink, and I'm just gonna do a couple of a dot, just to give me that soft pink. You can definitely do that with a pen or a colored pencil if that's easier, especially if you're using a brush tip or a broader tip on these little images. Sometimes colored pencils and or the other comes in. So for the skin tone, I picked E288 or hazelnuts. You can pick whatever skin tone you want. I'm only using one marker for the skin tone, so I'm just gonna layer it up. This one is kind of, I would think of as kind of like a tan, maybe not, definitely not pasty Jaime color. This is if I actually got to lay on a beach and tanned and not, how shall we say, fry like the white girl that I am. I fry. So I do my outsides first, and then I'm going to come in figuring I'm going to have some shadow underneath where the sleeve is sitting, elbows, all the bendy parts. That's usually, if you're looking to figure out where to put your shadows, figure your bendy parts, where arms and legs connect to bodies, and then where you bend is probably going to have, and or where there's going to be a shadow because something's there, right? So that's kind of my theory on it. I'm not classically trained. I just do what looks good to me. And a lot of times that's just following what other people do. I love looking at packaging when it's already colored. I find that's probably, you know, when the artist drew it, they probably had a light source in mind. I mean, not me if I was the artist that drew it, because I don't. But a lot of times their stuff or other people's colorings of things work well. So I went over that with a second layer. And then we're going to go into hair. So hair to me is probably one of the hardest. And I've upped my game, right? So it's definitely one of the hardest things for me to master, hair and eyes. That was my goal last year, or the year before was hair was my goal. Last year, eyes were my goal. And so I'm getting better at the eyes. I had to get some bigger stamps so I could practice eyes. Because, you know, yeah, it's kind of how it rolls. So for the hair, I tend to go with the darkest one first, kind of pulling up where I want either like the inset of the curl is going to be a little bit darker here. The other part with hair is it's not all one color, right? Unless it's from a box usually. At least my hair is like multitudes of color. So I start with my darkest color, then I go to my middle tone color, and I kind of draw out from there. I will also pull out and over. I don't go over the whole top of what I've already colored with the darkest because I don't want to bleed it out too much. But I also want it to be streaky. And this one is teeny tiny, so it's going to be harder to see, and you can definitely just go one and done with this one. But ultimately, I don't want it to be, I don't know, I don't want it to be fully colored in, and I don't want it to be over the top. But you could definitely go in a second layer and color the whole thing again and be done with it. I'm going to bring in a third color just because I'm trying to explain how I color hair. Feel free to just use one or two because this is a really small head. I'm going to come in with that deep cream, which is the lightest tone, and kind of add the highlights. You could definitely add them higher up on the head if you want. I tend to go for the middle or towards the crown, just because that's what I think looks good. And then that I will just come in and kind of color in that lighter area there and go over some of those darker areas that I think maybe got a little too dark, because the lighter is going to kind of bleed through the paper and it's going to push the darker back out. Also, coming back with your darker or your mid-tone, I'm going to come back in here and add a little of this back in. And then on bigger heads, usually I will come in with my darker and just kind of add, or my mid-tone, and kind of add some streaks within it so it doesn't look all one tone. But that's kind of how I do my hair. So once I'm done with the hair, we're going to move on to the jeans. And so I'm going to go with, this is a blue-gray, a dark blue-gray. So because this one's so small, it's kind of hard to add in some of those details. But I just kind of hit the areas that, I want her to look a little bit round. But I also know that there's going to be shadow where the seams maybe are going to be wider on, or darker when you think of a pair of jeans. And so the inner thigh area is going to be in shadow. And then on this one, there's the added kind of little lines that the artist drew in, has kind of where your fabric is going to bend and fold. So kind of keeping that in mind. You could at this point come and do the outside. Maybe we'll do it on this one because I didn't do it on my original. and we'll hit that one. And then we're going to come in with our mid-tone here, or actually our second tone, which is actually going to be our mid and our lighter tone. So we're going to do the first layer, and then we're going to come back over and do a second layer, which will make it our mid-tone. So kind of again, pulling in from the sides. I figured the pockets are probably going to be darker. And then we're just going to kind of, I want to lighten up the darkest a little bit, but I also want to lay in my second tone here. And so by going over that darker tone, A, we're going to keep it wet. B, it's going to help to meld it into that second tone. So it's going to push a little bit of that darker tone into our image a little bit more. And it's going to help those colors kind of mesh a little bit more together. So once I have that second layer on, then I'm going to go back and do the whole thing again. So I go from side to side on this one. This one I want the lighter tone to kind of ease over all of them. You wouldn't have to go over your darkest tone at this point, but definitely go over where your second layer is or where it ends, and that's going to help move those in or transition them better. And so I'm going to do this one, and I always move my image to what makes coloring easiest for me. If my hand is feeling like it's reaching funny, I'm not enjoying it, right? So move your image to work with you. A lot of times I don't have them cut out beforehand. I have the whole piece of paper, and you will see me move it. A lot of times I struggle with the camera because I don't pay attention, and I'll have it over here, or I'll have it, you know, wherever's comfortable for me to color is definitely where I'm going to put it. And so I don't always pay attention to what's on screen up there. And so, yeah, sometimes you don't get to see it all. So I have black. I brought in, and when I say black, I really mean neutral gray 8. So it's not black. I usually don't use black for coloring anything. I usually use the darker of the gray ones, and then I'll bring in a lighter one. For this one, because it's such a small area, it's the shoe, right? So I'm just going to come in and just do my outsides, and then I'm going to go over it with the same one more time to give the illusion of brownness on the tip. I did bring in a dark brown for my shoes here. I don't know if you needed to do something different than the black. I just thought it was fun. You could definitely go some pink ones. Some pink platforms would be really cute here. Why didn't I think of that? So this time I colored the whole thing, and I didn't do the outside first. You can definitely go that route and then just come back in with your second layer on the outside. It'll do the same thing kind of as we did the first time. I go back and forth. Usually I stick with the outlining and then filling it all in, but on little images like that sometimes I don't. And then for the sunglasses, I'm just going to go in with that dark black in the little areas that are covered up by the sunglasses. I am going to bring in either a gel pen or a glitter pen to add my frames in. You could do it with if you are very good with a fine super brush, like the fine point on a brush tip, and you want to color it that way, go for it. I'm not that good. Usually I bring in gel pens for that, or jelly pens, and I'm going to bring in this one today. It's like a 3D one. This one is off of Amazon. They quit making the glaze ones from Jelly Roll, and so this is what I found that works well. And so it's a creative paint pen basically, but it's a 3D jelly pen, and they're kind of fun. So this one I'm just going to kind of go over those lines, hoping to stay on top of those lines, and even then it's such a thin line it kind of gets lost. And I will bring in and try to do the little peace sign in her glasses. You don't have to go as dark as I went. You could definitely go something lighter. And so there's our little image all colored up today. Oh look, Jaime has glitter and ink on her hands. That's how I roll. So there is our image for one of our cards. There's, in the kit, there's like 2 of these and another one if you want a bigger one. But ultimately, we're gonna get our panel and see how dry it is. It's not totally dry, but it's definitely dry-ish. I can touch it without getting too much glitter transfer. So we're gonna set her off to the side. We'll set her in there. This one. Okay, so we're mostly dry. I just pushed my pens off to the side there. You didn't need to see it. My splatter is dry, which is really what I wanted to make sure that it was dry, because that pink I will get on my hands and we will transfer it to every little thing imaginable. So for this one, I'm going to bring in, at this point, I'm going to bring in my guillotine cutter. Guillotine cutter is going to work better with the mixed media on than the other. We could have definitely cut these before we did the mixed media, like the stencil paste. We might, for our in-person class, do the cut before we do the stencil paste, just because it'll help with not having to worry about it drying. But to cut through that stencil paste, the guillotine just seems to work a lot better. So I'm going to cut these ones all down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panels. And so we have 4 fun panels to kind of play with, and you see that, you know, maybe I didn't like something that before, but it looks fine now because it's cut down into a panel and it's busy, right? It's kind of what we're going for today. So I'm gonna I just grabbed one. I guess it doesn't matter. Should I grab my least favorite panel? This one's probably my least favorite because I stuttered my inking on this one. They're all about the same. They really don't matter. We can use, I have this one, which is my oxide black soot, so I'll probably use this one. But I'm just gonna come in. You could go in with a pink. You can go in with black soot. You can go in with the color Virginia. You can go in with any color you want to at this point, and maybe I will do it on some of the other ones. I'll bring in some of the other colors that we used to kind of show the difference in the contrast. But I'm just going to come in with the black soot. So you can use regular ink or oxide. I just have my oxide one is labeled as oxide, and I don't want to, you know, waste time and grab the other. So I'm just going to come in off on the mat first and then bring it in. You can use, in class we'll use a plastic mat, but ultimately it's going to kind of hold some of the ink, which is fine because this one will probably pick up some of that ink from it. And I'm just going to come in from the side and just slowly, I put more pressure on the back side than I do on the front side. So if you're watching, the front side's barely even touching. And that's why if we go with, ouch, I just hurt myself, the new Dome phone, you don't get the harsh line on this one. And so this one you can definitely just kind of come in full strength, you know, like just put it down and go. If you still have the old style that have that harder line, it's not that rounded line, you're gonna have better luck putting more pressure on the back side than on the front side. And so when you're bringing it in, and that one probably is an oxide, I just don't know if that one's an oxide or if it's a distress. So being that I don't know, it's probably gonna end up turning into an oxide, isn't it? Silly girl that I am. Okay, so I'm just gonna come in and add that all the way around. And you can go in as far or not as far as you want. It doesn't, you know, there's no right way to do it, right? So if you want to add a solid behind there, if you don't want your panel to be white, you can definitely go in and add a color and, you know, all the way into the center if you want. Do an ink, you know, the ink blending in general, you can definitely do. You could ink blend your panel before you stamp on it. You have options. So there is my panel. I have it ink blended. I think I like that. So it's gonna kind of pop up those glitter pieces. Well, this one not, because I kind of messed it up, but I think that's the one that I moved it. But ultimately along the edges, you'll be able to kind of pick up a little bit. You can take a towel and kind of buff anything off of your mixed media paste that's on top, and it'll kind of pop it up a little bit more for you. And then for this one, you can kind of decide where you want it. I'm going to put it off to the side, I think. And we have some options here. So you can pop her up on foam tape. I have the little disco ball that's actually a disco ball. That one would be fun to put like maybe black behind it instead of seeing that one. We could go with the pink bow, and then we have those. So maybe we'll go pink bow. I like the Oh Behave, because then I don't have to add another sentiment. So maybe I'll add I don't think I'm going to add the disco in this one. I think we're just going to add her. We're going to pop her up a little bit with some foam tape. I'm trying to decide if I have to cut it. Bonus when I don't have to cut the foam tape. Nope, we're good. Okay. And then we're just going to pop her on here. I'm going to cover up the area that I don't like. She's going to stand out more than my messed up stamping. I don't know. That's how I roll. And so you could also go in and add, you know, your bow on top of, on this one or on top of this one. You could do 2 bows. If you have 3 tops and you wanted to add a bow on top of them, that would be kind of cute. We could do that to one. Do-be-do-be-do. This is where die cuts, ephemera, all of those things kind of are fun to add to it. So if you have little pieces laying around or little snippets. I had to find a glue that worked. Sorry. Okay. And then, whoops, we're just going to add a bow to the top of this one. And look, I transferred some more. Maybe wash your hands in between. Okay, okay. I think I'm going to add the other pink bow over here. I like things in 3s. To each their own. That is kind of how I roll. 3s or even, but they have to be in like, yeah, it's still 3s. Because even numbers look odd. You know what I mean? Unless it's 6, because then it's divisible by 3. Don't ask. My brain's weird. It's okay. So for this one, they're all connected, interconnected, so I'm not going to be able to just like pop, oh, this one, maybe they aren't interconnected. Oh, well, they break apart easily. That's cool, because I didn't know that. I am going to add a drop of glue just because I don't want them to pop off. Do I want here? Okay. So I'm just going to add a couple of these on there. It kind of just plays into the disco theme, and that's kind of why I picked them as my embellishment. I think I'm going to come in with one of the little ones and add that here, and then I'll do 1, 2, 3, because we just had the discussion of how I like things in threes. Okay, and we're gonna see, this one's not going to, is it? It's the same. I'm not popping off like you want me to. Okay, so this one we're gonna add there. And then put the little one, touch the big one. Well, I peeled it off without the sticky. Okay, the little ones aren't as nice as the big ones. Go figure. I think I want another little one though. I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of bend it a little bit. This one's kind of a big scissors. A fine tip scissors is probably going to work better for you. And I will add that one in. And there we kind of have, we can cut off this piece and then we can adhere this onto an A2 size card front and we have our completed card. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me grab some of the other ones I did. So I finished the rest of them. I'll kind of walk you through what I added, what I kind of switched to make them all look a little bit different. But we'll start with, I don't think I have them in any order. They're kind of random. Let me see if I can pull out. I'll try to pull out the ones. So here's the one that we did on camera today. Just adding the little mirror bling, the bows that were included in the kit, and then of course, adding our piece out girl there. Worked very well. That one we did on camera, so let's see if we can find the other ones that we did with that background. So here's the next one. I just added 2 disco balls. These come from Trinity Stamps. They're disco ball die. I think it's a die and stencil set. And then just added, whoops, let me move that one out of the way. Added that groovy baby onto the bottom, a couple of little bling pieces, but ultimately just kind of letting it show. But what did I do with my actual background panel? I added in some of that worn lipstick distress ink around, I think it was the oxide, around the outside to kind of make it lighter than the other one, if you see that. I also added a row of blue, and then I used that peacock feathers in the inside, so it kind of has the gradient look, kind of like tie-dye maybe. But you can see this a lot better. You can see where my stencil paste went, and it kind of makes it pop a little bit more. It definitely is not white at all on this one, so if that's, something that you like the look of a little bit better. And then of course I cut it down 1/4 inch off of one side or 2 sides, top and bottom 1/4 inch, and then put it on a black background panel. If you want to see what I did with the black background panel, yes, I totally used all my die cuts, fit them in where I knew that they weren't going to see, because yeah, you only see the very outline, right? This one, I just went around it with that dark blue or stormy sky on the outside instead of the black or the pink. Gives it a whole different look if you're looking at it this way. And this one, I just added a bigger disco ball with the All Panic No Disco, and then of course adding some of the bling that comes with the kit for class. And then for the last one here, I brought in the peacock feathers and went all in on the outside, brought that one in, left the center light so it spotlights or highlights my center figure there. I used the Ink Nicole on this one, which is, there's one included in each of the kits. And then of course I added glossy accents to her glasses and her iced coffee. And then just added Danger is my middle name, because if you are roller skating with an iced coffee in your hand, I mean, I guess it would be more dangerous with a hot drink, but I was never that coordinated, okay? we'll just leave it at that. And then we'll go on to some of the ones that I did prior to. So I used same technique, right? So I came in with my 2 stencils, I came in with my stamps. This one I did the Too Much Panic, Not Enough Disco as my bigger sentiment. You wouldn't have to do the Oh Behave on it if you don't want that big bold sentiment on there. Going in with, of course, I pulled in a different text background before I had the actual sets. But this one I added the little girl that comes in the, you know what, I don't even know what the name of that one is. All Panic, No Disco set from Inkroad that is retreat specific or exclusive, I guess. And then this one has the one from scrapbook.com, their disco ball. I just did the outline on this one. I didn't back it, so it's faint. It's there. You can still see the background through it. This one has the dark blue splatter instead of a pink splatter, so the blue was kind of my punch of contrast on this one. I used pinks and oranges for my stencil, and then of course I used a glitter paste through there, and you can definitely see it. It gets picked up by the inking around the edge, so that's one of those things. This one, same background as this one. I think there's 4 of these, and so this one I did with pink. It totally changes the tone of the card. It brightens it up, brings it forward, but kind of the same thing. Definitely like the heavier splatter on these than I do the ones that we did today. But it's, you know, I liked the other ones. I just think I like the heavier splatter. So, you know, I'll probably next time make it more splattery. But sometimes it just depends on the project as well. So this one I added the disco ball that is included with the kit for class on the top there, so no die cutting required. This one, still the same sheet of paper as these two. Went with the, I think it was, if you're wondering colors, Uncharted Mariner around the outside. I want to say it's Worn Lipstick and probably Dried Marigold for my pinks and oranges through the stencil. I think I used 2 different stencils on this one. Yeah, it looks like it. One's a blob and one is, I don't know, lines or waves or cheetah pattern or something. So, you know, stencil, it just kind of gives you that same. Again, I went with the scrapbook.com globe behind for the disco ball and using the inked nickel, and then of course I just did the tiny little mirrored accents on this one. And then don't mind my Nuvo, that's just my placeholder. This one is the last one from that set, and so this one I went heavy on the outside for this one with that Uncharted Mariner. Kind of looks very similar to the other one, so very much I just colored, I think I just colored her a little bit different. She'd be really cute with glossy accents on her glasses and the cup, but I didn't do those on these. So these ones are almost exactly the same, just a little bit darker on one than the other. I might have gone, I don't think I did straight on, because I was going to say maybe I did straight on, but I didn't. And this is the one that I did when this set first got here, because I wanted to see how it was going to look with the blues and greens, and I like this one as well. So this one uses a softer blue and a softer green, and then of course just kind of doing the same, and I did the All Panic No Disco. And of course I didn't do the All Panic No Disco on my one today because I used it on this one, and I was like, well, I want more options, I want to show you more things. So this one, same thing. I used that, this one is the same one from scrapbook.com, just using a piece of holographic paper on the background, black on top, and then of course adding it onto there, kind of going with kind of the same style that we did on the one today. If I can find the one from today, kind of similar. I just used the disco ball kind of as to bring her forward, and so she doesn't get lost in the background, if that's something. And this one I think I actually ended up using the Distress Mica spray stains for my bright pinks there, just because it was easier and I have them. So it was probably like something Cocktail Party, I think, is the pink I used on this one. So if you have those available to you, you can definitely pull those in and make it a little bit, you know, you don't have to mix it that way, but feel free to add any of your liquid mediums like the Distress sprays, or I think Delusions has the Delusions sprays. I think Dina Weekly has some kind of splatter style spray as well. Any of those work here. It's just, yeah, it's playing with it and finding something. So if you don't love your background, it's okay. Keep adding to it. Do some layers. I oftentimes just keep adding. I know I did one not that long ago on a I think it was one of my Get Creeping on Halloween ones, the Stitch, like the voodoo doll one. I absolutely hated it, covered the whole thing up, and I absolutely loved how it finished up. So anyways, this is all of them, so it's, you know, me explaining what I did on them. So anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Keep getting inky. Bye.